this new video of the new series of designing a URL shortener. So in this video we were going to discuss what is an URL shortener, how we design a URL shortener in a system architecture. So before diving into this nitty-gritty of the details of URL shortener, so let's see what is an URL shortener. By the name as it suggests, and as you can see also, like it is as a service which is used to shorten a URL. So here you can see this is a long URL which is an actual URL, and it has been shortened into this small tiny URL. Upon clicking this tiny URL, we will be eventually redirected to this long URL. So in this video and in the following videos, we will be looking into how this short URL is generated into this from this long URL, and ultimately how we are redirected to the long URL using this short URL. So before diving into the details, let's see why do we need actually. Let's ask this question: why do we need a URL shortener? So suppose, let's say you have uploaded a video on a social media or any application, and you want to share your video with your friends on maybe say on some Twitter or any other social media platforms, but the limitation for the number of characters for that platform is, let's say it's limited to 100 words or 1000 characters, and whenever you put this long URL, it exceeds and the URL is not being reflected properly, or there isn't any good method to click on this URL. So for that matter, we can use this short URL to post our on behalf of our long URL, so that any person can click on this short URL and they will be redirected to your original video or original post. So this is one of the major benefit why we use, like, to make it user friendly for various media platforms. Another thing is, like, we can also use it for analytics purpose. The short URL can be used for analytic purpose, like how many clicks have been done on this URL or how many visits has been made to the actual website, and all those analytical purposes can be done using this short URL. Okay, so now we know what is a short URL shortener, what is a short URL, and why do we actually need a short URL. So now, before diving into the details, we need to gather some information, like what would be the characteristics of our short URL, like what would be the size, and how many characters should it be there, what kind of characters should it be present in the short URL, and all those things can be done having a conversation with the interviewer. So if we ask a certain few questions to the interviewer during the interview, system design interview, like you can ask the interviewer to give an example of a short URL, like as in above you can see this is an actual URL and it has been shortened into this smaller part. So you can actually ask the interviewer like how it should look in a real life scenario, so that you can have an idea like how you're going to design your URL shortener. And next you can ask, like, for a design to handle a short URL, how many requests are generated per day, like what is the traffic volume basically. So we are going to ask what is the traffic volume, and let's say this answer is like 100 million URLs per day are generated. So like you get an idea how many URLs you need to convert into a short pattern to be stored in the database and all. So you have an idea, let's say this is 100 million. Next we can ask is, like, what is the length, what could be the length what could be the length or what characters does short URL contain. So let's say this is like, it should be as small as possible, and for the URL short URL, it contains characters like from 0 to 9, small a to small z, and capital A to capital Z, and these characters it is made of, the URL short URL is made of these characters. And for simplicity, for our purpose, let's say the URLs once generated and never deleted, or rather updated. So from these couple of questions, what we can get is like, we have basic 3 use cases to design 3 use cases. This is important, this is our building block for the next couple of videos, and actually the URL shortening service. So we have 3 use cases. One is like, we have URL shortening, which is basically given a long URL, make it or return a short URL. Second is like URL redirecting, like given a short URL, redirect it to longer URL. And ultimately, since we are scaling for a large, since our applications should be large, so it should be high availability, scalability, and fault tolerance also. So by fault tolerance, we mean like, even if the URL shortening service is down, our entire system should not go down. It should be up and it should be running properly. We should handle those cases. So these are the basic ideas which we have got. These are the 3 use cases. These 3 use cases are our building blocks, as I have also mentioned. So we will be looking into this further for our design purpose. But before going into our design, a high level design, and rather than diving deep into the designs and all, let's make some back of the envelope calculations, like how many write operations, read operations we handle, and how much storage actually we need to store for mapping of long URLs to short URLs and ultimately store them. How much storage do we need? So let's do some back of the envelope estimation. So as we have mentioned, number of writes per day was 100 million. So this is 100 million per day. So let's say writes per second, if we calculate, this would go like 100 upon 24 upon 3600. So this is 1160 write operations. Let's say we assume our read is to write ratio is 10:1. Therefore number of reads per second will be 11600 reads per second. And let's say our URL service works for or run for 10 years. So number of records thus we support equals to 100 million into per day. This was per day, so for a year this is 100 million into the 365, and for 10 years this is approx 365 billion records. So this much of records will be generated in 10 years. And suppose the average length of a URL is like, let's say 100 bytes. Okay, so the storage requirement for 10 years is 365 billion records per year multiplied by 100 bytes per record. So this we can approx up to, let's say, 365 terabytes of data. So this is the actual amount of, roughly actual or approximate amount of storage which we need if our URL shortening service runs for 10 years, considering the average size of each URL is, short URL is 100 bytes. So this is the back of the envelope calculation which we have. So now with all these calculations, with all these requirements and the 3 use cases, we will be now looking into the design of a URL shortening service. So in the next video, we will be discussing about a high level design of how a URL shortening service works, how we actually redirect the requests which are made for a short URL, which ultimately redirects the request into the long URL. So thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video.